Welcome back, Flare community. I hope you're all well and having an incredible day as always. And yes, it is time actually to do a bit of a spontaneous stream. We're going to jump over here and this is what we're going to be listening to. For those of you who don't know, we have Quantic here, part of the Flare team, and he is going to be hosting this Flare Pulse stream over on X. Now, it is starting in just a couple of minutes, and I know that some of you here on YouTube are not a part of X, or formerly Twitter, so I'm going to be hosting this and recording it as well, because we have seen instances in the past where some of the spaces have not been recorded, but very memorable, and fortunately, I did do the stream, recorded it, so we could actually watch this back and decipher what has been happening in that particular space. Excuse me. So I think this is actually going to be a space with many different builders, and they're going to be talking about what they have going on. So I wouldn't expect anything special or breaking coming from any of the Flare team members. Maybe some of the agents may be talking about how they've integrated the F-Asset system. Maybe we've got some other builders in DeFi. We're just going to have to wait and see. I'm not actually sure of the guest list, but time will tell. We've got Zifnab here that is listening from work. Naughty, naughty. And Marquise West, afternoon. I hope you're all well. And yeah, we're just about to come in onto the time limit here. It is going to be starting in approximately 1 minute. Let's check the notifications here. It should be dropping very soon. Go back a couple of times. But I must say, Quantic has been a very great addition to the Flare team. As far as I'm concerned, you can see him really making an effort here on X and helping get the word out there. Not just through this first space, but the quality of his posts as well are very good. And I believe he is writing some of these articles, but he's very much rounding up the troops. Let's see what Burst FTSO here has to say. So Burst FTSO will also be co-hosting alongside Quantic and Flare Forward. Get ready for insights into the Flare ecosystem, connect with builders, and dive into community conversations. Don't miss out on the builder spotlight and discussions on future plans. Pretty exciting stuff. Let's see if it's, yeah, looks like we've started. 9 people in the space already. We could just be the 10th. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the volume down and we're going to listen in and see what this is all about. There we go. Now, please do bear in mind that there is no sound coming from this space just yet. I imagine they're just getting all of the panelists up on board and the co-hosts. So we may just have to wait a second. But once they do get starting and jumping into the conversation, I will be turning my microphone down. Here we go.
Let me see. Who do we have here? I see Steven and I see Burst FTSO. I'm gonna send you invites to co-host with me today. And we're gonna have some fun today, right? I'm so happy that we got this opportunity to connect with our community. And I just want to probably double check if you guys can hear me. Any emotion emoji that would help me a lot. Is anyone there? Okay, guys, you got me in suspense, huh? All right, I see that we have now Burst FTSO with us. How are you doing today, guys?
Great, Quantic. How are you doing?
All good, my man. I'm super excited about this. It's the first time that I'm hosting a space from my personal account this year. I usually host spaces with Web3 Matters every Friday, and I've been doing this for years. So I really enjoy this kind of, a space in which we can connect with everyone. And today I want to listen some of your feedback and experiences, and also provide a sort of, spotlight opportunity for our builders and talk about what's coming next. You know, have a full gathering with the ecosystem. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great chance for us to just continue that conversation around the community, everyone here in the Flare ecosystem, to talk about what they're doing or talk about what they're interested in seeing from the builder side, from the user side. There's just so much going on even within the last week that it's really, really exciting to get to talk to everyone today.
Yes, absolutely. And I see that now we have Steven as well. And I think I'm missing Senior Whale, but probably if you are
He's
there,
he's
please
down
feel
there.
free to send an invite. Yeah, I can hear you, Steven. How are you doing today? And guys, for the rest of you, sorry, before we move forward, just a couple of like basic rules. If you want to speak, please request to do so, and I will get you on stage. And of course, let's keep things civil, right? Let's behave properly. If not, I'm gonna have to do some moderation, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. We have one of the smartest and kind communities that I've seen in crypto. So, Mike, back to you, Steve.
Oh, thank you, Quant. Yeah, I was just saying, yep, Wales in there. Just saw him pop in. So looking forward to this and chatting about what's going on in the community. And man, like I said, we got to chat with you a couple weeks back, 2 weeks now, I think. And I mean, I'm super excited having you on board. So thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely, my man. Yeah, you guys were like one of the first communities and groups that I connected with, and it was super beneficial for me to learn about like your mission and why you guys are on Flare. So probably we will touch base on that at some point. But right now, I want to send the mic to Senior Whale. ¿Cómo estás hoy día, my friend?
Buenos dias, everybody. Here it's 6 a.m. starting the day. Very excited to be in these X spaces and also very excited to be part of this wonderful community. It's been a great journey for me, and I think we're all learned and grown in the past few years and can't wait for what's next in Flare.
Yes, today we're going to be having some conversation about what's next and how we can kind of support each other and win together. I think that we are at this stage in which the growth of the ecosystem is quite obvious. And not only that, we know what we are doing, right? We know that we are working to get towards, uh, XRP fi, and we have a pretty solid roadmap. So likely it's going to work, right? But it's important for me personally that we get things done fast in terms of, okay, now that we have a sort of product market fit, and I'm gonna be pushing hard on gaining developer mindshare. And you guys saw that we have this new developer account, but it's not just an account; it's part of a bigger plan to bring on board more and more developers. But it's also important the speed at which we are now kind of gaining mindshare, if you want, or kind of spreading the word really about what is it that we are doing in Flare, why people should pay attention, and how we can support one another. My first question that goes for all of you guys, I would like to hear like some personal thoughts around this. Is your experience with FXRP on Songbird and the full launch, the experience from a user perspective? Yeah, how did you guys like kind of feel that, and what do you guys think could have done maybe better? I think it was quite successful, to be honest, but if there is any room to improvement there, I think is also a good opportunity to start with that kind of feedback.
I mean, I'll start then. I think this version, for those of us who've played around the initial version, trying to mint, unmint, was really nice. You got to select between the different fees, so you could just wait and look. So I think I'm actually extremely happy with this version versus the original, especially being able to understand the fee structure better. And the raise cap allowed me to really take my time with what I was doing. So I mean, as for improvements, I think it's fantastic. I can't think of anything on top of my head that I would change. Those were the biggest issues in the beginning, obviously the cap, but also being able to see the fees very well. So,
Yeah, I would agree with that, Stephen. I mean, the UI, very seamless, just very easy to onboard into it. And the biggest thing is just more usability. The increased cap meant more folks could mint this time around. So just being able to get in there and actually participate, I think, was the biggest change this go round too.
Yeah, I started minting and redeeming. I don't know why I understood that there was going to be some rewards. And then Steven was like, what are you doing? So I stopped. But the process of minting and redeeming, it felt much more smooth than with the first version. So that was super exciting. I wish there was more to do with FXRP right now on Songbird, but I understand why there isn't. And I also understand that it would be a lot of work for like a short time period. So yeah, I'm more than ready. I have my XRP on my Bifrost wallet and just can't wait for FXRP to launch on Mainnet and put it to work.
Absolutely. And you know what? You touch upon something that I wanted to discuss. So maybe that's a perfect, like, this is a perfect time to ask you that. Like, why do you think that there is like not too much to do on Songbird with FXRP and all that?
Well, because I've been understanding that for FXRP to be usable in a network, there has to be a market, which is what I understand you guys are doing with USDT Zero. And I understand that developing that market on Songbird, it's a whole endeavor. And I just don't know if there's going to be demand and if it's necessary to fragment the liquidity between Songbird and Mainnet. So I think even though I would like to have more things to do, I think it's the right way to go. Just like test it, make sure it works well, and then put all the energy on Flare. And maybe in the future, we can start developing the Songbird market further. So that would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. And I'm so happy that you share your perspective because this is one of the main topics in which I saw a lot of confusion in the community. And I'm going to share like my personal perspective, right? Songbird is a place in which we do tests, but like real tests, not like just testnet, but we have assets, right? That are have liquidity. So you can experiment there and see how people behave also in terms of like the broader game theory behind and obviously test all of the tech part, which is, of course, the most fundamental thing. But I'm seeing like a lot of people raising confusion about like Songbird, why are we not pushing this further and whatnot? And I just want to remind, like from my personal perspective, as far as I know, Songbird is not like the goal here, right? The goal here of pushing the ecosystem forward is Flare Mainnet, and we should never forget that. I understand though the interest in Songbird, and I have my personal interest on that as well, right? You can obviously speculate whatever you want, but I think that we need to remain aligned on really what is the goal and why do they exist on the first place. So I'm super happy that Senior Whale was able to nail it down there with that comment. Is there anything else regarding this about Songbird that you guys would like to address or clarify? I think it's a good opportunity.
Yes, I have a couple things. One, I wonder if when we have protocol managed wallets, Hugo mentioned about the capital efficiency that you could potentially tap into the FlareNetwork borrowing and lending markets and then borrow on Songbird. So that could be a very interesting thing in further down the future, that you don't have to develop a new market, that you can just tap into Flare already existing market and then do things on Songbird. I think that would be super exciting.
I also think that that could be very exciting. And to be honest, this is permissionless, right? So what I would expect is that at some point, people start playing around with both networks and see how they can leverage one or the other, knowing how the game is, right? We are like, I'm already sharing with you what is like the perspective here. Songbird was created to do like real testing in that sense. And Flare Mainnet is obviously our area of focus. However, where there is opportunities, eventually there will be tools, and eventually there will be builders, and eventually there will be users. And I would expect that as the ecosystem becomes more mature and we flooded with more liquidity and assets that are relevant for DeFi, you cannot say no to people that want to build this kind of thing. So that's a great point.
I have one last question. So I saw a post from Flare on May 16. First move with your FXRP on Flare, stake it from Songbird to Flare. Do you know if staking is going to launch on Songbird first, or is it going to go straight to Mainnet? I don't know if you can share this right now.
Yeah, I also don't know to be honest, but I can tell you that historically the way this has been is that we test the first features on Songbird and then we go to mainnet, right? And of course there is a testnet as well, but that's kind of the logic.
I think, and again, don't hold me to this, but I don't think Songbird or staking is going to be done on Songbird because it's not done by Flare. So it's not the same process. They don't have to build on Flare, and that's the reason Flare rushed 1.1 to get it out, to get it onto Flare mainnet so they can start their staking protocols because they want to do it. Because, and again, there's some different stuff between Songbird and Flare, but that's the way I understand it and why 1.1 was pushed so that they go write it so they could get that going. Other than that, that's the only reason 1.1 was even pushed out.
Well, I'm gonna leave it like that. You guys can draw your own conclusions around this. Like, I think the perspective is kind of clear on what is like the main idea here with Songbird and Flare Mainnet, and how they both can provide value to each other. That's the reality. And yeah, it seems that Burst FTSO, you have something to add here, so that you
Yeah, I was just
unmuted
going
your
to
mic.
say, I mean, when you think about Songbird as a test net or canary network, there's just so many opportunities looking down the road and in the future as to what we could be testing across Songbird. I mean, even outside of F-Assets, you could look at doing, like on-chain governance simulations, so creating mock proposals and testing, token emission schedules. We could do things with like cross-chain proof of concepts, like we're doing, maybe some GameFi type of stuff, but even like running, like hackathons or boot camps focused on Songbird. So a lot of different ways that we could leverage that network and still create value on that network for builders and users alike.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And one thing again that I'm going to stress is that these things are permissionless, right? You don't need Flare's permission in order to go and deploy on Songbird. And there is capital already. There is people that have very deep interest, let's say, on Songbird. So you guys are free to do whatever you want. On my end, as a builder on Flare and an advocate, I will be trying to support in as much as possible from my personal side. That's what I mean. And but we always need to be, I would say, mindful of what is the game behind, right? And what we want to achieve with Flare, right? So speaking of which, I would love to transition into the conversation just a little bit about like the infrastructure and the perspective around that. So I think that Burst FTSO, you guys are kind of uniquely positioned here. You have been with the ecosystem for a while, and I think that is a good opportunity for you to share not only what you guys are doing, but also what is your perspective about the growth of the network, and what do you expect like users to do, how they can connect with you, all things related to that.
Yeah, so Burst is an FTSO on the Flare network. So what we do is we make it obviously easy for Flare to get that rock solid price data along with all the other FTSOs that are providing that price data. We also allow folks to delegate and stake, which is a whole like kind of very basic process of getting involved within the Flare network. We've also continued to support onboarding education and builders. So we've got price tutorials. We've got the ability to understand what we're doing on the delegating staking reward side. We're creating content out there as well. But our whole process as a builder is to just really support everything that Flare is doing. About 2 months ago, we launched the Burst Nodes portal, and we developed that as kind of a one-stop shop for delegating, staking, rewards. And we're really excited to announce and launch a new feature coming up. We're going to be allowing the USDT Zero gasless transfers directly on burstnodes.com. So that's going to be coming here in the next couple of days. So we're doing what we can to just integrate all of the different buses that Flare is delivering, integrate all the different protocol pieces that are coming out. And we just want to continue to support, I think, from a growth perspective, that TVL expansion. So as USDT Zero has now come on board, what can we do to continue to build out that ecosystem diversity and just continue to attract both users and builders? And I think we're seeing a lot of momentum on the developer side, a lot of innovation on the user side. I mean, you've talked about the permissionless aspect of developers, but just the protocol managed wallets for the user side, the gaseous transfers for the user side, the seamless on ramps with Kraken on the user side. There's just so much coming that we're just completely impressed with Flare's ability to continue to push that level of development out, and then impressed by the level of the community to just be able to support that and to be able to grow. So that's our primary focus, is to just continue to support that infrastructure on the price feed side, and then do what we can to help the ecosystem grow.
Man, I almost can say that you prepared that with anticipation. Such a wonderful way of sharing. So thank you so much. Steven, Senor Well, do you have any comments or questions regarding the things that he just shared?
Yeah, so I've been using the Burst FTSO webpage to show people, because I've been doing just like one-on-one coaching for Flare in general and DeFi. And a lot of people have questions about how to choose the delegator and how to choose the right FTSO. So I think the Burst FTSO webpage is amazing and it's very simple to use. So I've been using that as a reference for giving data, because I do believe that data is very important. And yeah, turning a little bit of what we are doing, I believe that for a big part of Flare being successful is that we have a strong, educated community around DeFi where everybody's winning. Because, I mean, sure, people make mistakes and then somebody takes the opportunity. But if we do that enough, then like one people wins and everybody else loses. So my mission is to educate people and help them do the transition from just holding crypto to being able to leverage their assets. And yeah, so like take them from crypto being a liability to being an asset that is giving you yield. And that completely transformed my way that I see crypto. So I want to help people do that transition.
Yeah, that's a great great mission to have. So congrats to you on that. And I want to add and compliment to that I joined Flare about almost a month ago, and right now I'm starting to work with the advocates, with the developer ambassadors that we have. This week I'm gonna have my first formal call with them, and this is what we want to achieve when I'm talking about like speed of adoption, this kind of initiatives, this kind of one-on-one onboarding. You might think, okay, maybe it's not worth it, it's a lot of work, and what do I get at the end of the day? But this is exactly the kind of work that we need to be doing right now, in which we have like great apps, we have great DeFi, we know the ecosystem, we know that it's growing, so it's like the right time to start pushing forward and going harder on all of these initiatives. And especially on my side, I want to work more with advocates and ambassadors. And I'm talking about like technical and non-technical. Still don't have all the details figured out, but I think that establishing like local hubs, local communities around people that are already advocating for Flare, like all of you guys are doing right now, I think that that's going to have a huge impact in the long term. Is something that we really need to push forward. So I'm seeing some initiatives around Africa with Flare Africa. I'm seeing some initiatives in Asia. I think the other day we saw like Flare Indonesia. I don't know what happens to those guys. And also I have on my DM some people that are coming from other ecosystems that run like local communities in Turkey that they want to collaborate with us as well. So I need to like, gather all of the pieces, find the best systems, the best incentives, so that we can, collectively push our ecosystem forward. And it's very, very important that we all understand that right now we do have an ecosystem that is booming. We do have support among the communities. Like, look at all the people that we have today. Like, this is not a Flare official Flare organized space. This is just myself and the community, right? and this is very important to keep pushing. And yeah, I think that this is something that if you have some ideas, please feel free to send me a DM, and I will try to put all of the pieces together. Steven, I see that you want to speak.
Oh yeah, I was just going to chime in and kind of jump in and say, that's the great thing about Flare and what makes it different than most every other chain is that we win when everybody else wins, and we get to see that. So our philosophy should be as the Flare ecosystem: high tide rises all ships. If ETH goes up, it's going to bring the price of Flare up. If Bitcoin goes up, it's going to bring the price of Flare up. If XRP goes up, it brings the price of Flare up. When we bring in more tools from other networks, it brings the price of Flare up. So if you're price conscious, you should be super excited about everything and everybody and whatever they do. Like you're their cheerleader, because at some point they're going to want to connect to the network anyways to swap between the two and do different things. And so our whole philosophy is high tide's going to rise all ships for us, for sure.
Absolutely. Great explanation of, for the token holders, I would say, on how they are incentivized to support one another. And speaking of which, we have on stage with us Sarah. You probably have seen some of their short videos already explaining things around Flare. And, she's a master content creator. We are so happy. I'm so grateful that we have her on the team. And I wanted to hear her thoughts around her experience with the community, with the onboarding, and how she thinks like normie people would perceive Flare, because I know that she has a Web2 background, which is really important to kind of have like that fresh look, fresh eyes into the ecosystem. So how are you doing today, Sarah?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks for asking. Thanks for the amazing introduction. I don't think I'd go as far as to call myself a master content creator, but speaking of community, the community is definitely like what inspires me to make content. Like, I think so many people are already putting out such amazing information, and part of my aim whenever I make any video is how do I make this more digestible, and how do I make this appeal to a broader audience, both technically familiar audiences and people that are less technically familiar. And that's something that I definitely want to work towards in the future. So yeah. But yeah, if not, like, thanks for inviting me on to speak. I actually had a bit of a question in regards to community initiatives. It's great that you invited people to share their thoughts. I was wondering if perhaps anyone in the audience had any ideas that perhaps they wanted to share, just because I know a lot of people will be hesitant to share their ideas with others, but maybe not today, or perhaps in the future, people could share their thoughts on any initiatives that they would think would help onboard people. Because in my experience on what helps Web2 users come onto chain, you always need as much feedback as possible. And I think that's what is so great about our community. So if anyone had any feedback to share, I'd love to hear it today.
I'd like to give Sarah a shout out, guys. Make sure you chat with her. She's amazing to talk with and super smart. We've had a fun time. I know the first question I asked her was, "Is she real?" Because when her first video came out, it went pretty viral, and we were betting whether or not she was some guy in India. It was hilarious. It was great, but I mean, just amazing content. A really fun young lady, and yeah, you definitely should follow her and interact. She's super smart, and she does have an engineer in her house who kind of built an awesome tool as well. So.
Yeah, and so one thing, since we're talking about community participation, guys, this is an open space. So if any of you that is on the audience, like listening right now, wants to come and share something, please feel free to request to speak, and I will bring you on board. If not, maybe you might be a little bit more shy. You can also send me a DM. I'm gonna try and catch up with everything because I have to do everything like at the same time, but super open to hear your thoughts. And in regards on how we can break like this kind of barrier, right? Because at some point you kind of become a sort of mini echo chamber, right? Like in the sense that we're all here, we're all pushing for Flare, but what we really need at some point is that message to break and go outside, right, and start gaining, CT mindshare, and eventually people that are in Web2, right? And I think that, right now we kind of have all of the elements to onboard more people from Web2, but we do need like, more structured ideas maybe and initiatives to, start pushing into that direction. So if anyone wants to share anything, please feel free to do so. If you want to discuss other things related to Flare, also feel free to jump in. I think that at some point we are also going to be talking about what's next and how we can, like, support what FlareNetwork is going to be doing. But yeah, for now, Steven, Senior Well, and Burst FTSO, is there any particular direction you want to take this conversation?
So real quick before we change topic, the way that we are approaching it is that instead of trying to convince people, we're just making it easy for people that are looking to that they're showing interest on Flare. Because I think that trying to I've seen some conversations from some people in the XRP community, and no matter how much Hugo tries to explain them, they're like with blinders on. So I think that is not that is not my market. I just want to make it easy for anybody that shows interest, to make it easy to transition and be able to learn and understand and enter the ecosystem. And I think that that's the right space, because the more, yeah.
I think that's great. That's great, because we can now do something more concrete, which is how do you go about that process, right? Like if I'm new to crypto, what wallet, like is it like you tell them, okay, download this wallet, then get your tokens from XYZ? How does the process kind of look like from your perspective?
Well, we've been discussing this a lot. I feel like DeFi does have a barrier of entry. So right now we are very specific about the people that already know all of those steps, like people that already have crypto, that they understand the different wallets and the different chains and everything. So, I don't know, it's tricky because there's so much opportunity to teach and to reach people. And right now we're just trying to focus on the DeFi aspect, which does have a barrier of entry for sure. But I think it's been great. I've been posting on YouTube. We got our account canceled or suspended, but YouTube has been having a lot of traction, and I see people asking questions there constantly. And yeah, it's been great. It's been I think that there's a lot of interest to learn more. At least I don't know if they're ready to take the step and bring their XRP to Flare, but they're at least listening and paying attention, which I think is a great first step.
I would just chime in just a little bit and say, obviously we're building our own little kind of course training center and stuff like that, which has like Whale said, a barrier to entry, right? There's only 3 guys, and we're trying to focus on at least the main point right now, because there's so many people who hold crypto but want to figure out how to do more with it. So that's our initial target audience. For us, though, we're going to kind of be a little bit open source. We're still working out all the details, but we are looking for other content creators who may be more than happy to create that. Hey, here are the 4 wallets. Here's hot and cold. Take somebody from beginner to DeFi. So we're also hoping to have that inside our platform as well, so that it is hey, just go here. You're going to learn from point A to point B to point C, and that's our current goal. But where we're at is we want to focus on the people who have at least basic understanding of what a wallet is, what gas fees are, and some basic concepts.
Yeah, and I was going to add, a lot of the discussion, even earlier, talking Quantic about, what for ambassador conversation to have, and what Stephen and Will were just mentioning with, like soliciting other creators. I think, that's great in terms of, helping explain to people, blockchain, crypto, DeFi, all of those things. But when we talk about meeting people where they are, you look at, language barriers, cultural barriers, some of the terminology that, we take for granted might not translate well. So, I've seen success with other projects I've worked with where, they have these localized ambassadors. They're translating, their content into Spanish and other languages. So I think as Flare continues to grow, that's another thing to kind of look at, is how we can meet people where they are, and then give them the content or the onboarding they need in the way that they can understand it as easily as possible.
I want to add one little point here. And there's also an audience that hasn't been tapped, which is people who don't want to know about the addresses and this and that and the other. So I see Nick is on here, and so his audience, obviously, for I think what his wallet's going to be is the people who don't care about any of that. So, I think that's another thing to keep an eye on, guys, as the ecosystem evolves, is ways that people like your grandma could use it or your grandpa can use it. So I think his wallet is going to be an ideal one for those people who just want to take their money and earn money with it. They don't want to. They don't want it stored in a crypto. They don't care about crypto. They don't care. They care about earning yield on their money. And so they're they're going to be a target audience in my mind, opened up through the Oxenflow wallet, whose only thing is, I've got a couple $1,000s in the bank. I don't want to earn 0.003% from a CD if I can earn 20% in this bank over here. And that's obviously not a bank, but a way to break it down to them.
Yeah, imagine going into your local bank and you're trying to open an account and they're like, okay, you have to remember this seed phrase, and if you lose it, all your money's gone. No, like what the Oxenflow team is doing is amazing, and just like eliminating all that like upfront complexity, putting that on the back end, and just making it as simple as like tap, authenticate, done.
One thing
Absolutely.
I would love. Go
I
ahead.
think
Go
that
ahead.
Septre had, sorry to interrupt there. It's just that I think that Septre wanted to share something and he just joined the space. So, how are you doing today?
Hey, doing great. Yeah, you were talking about like, or you were all talking about sharing ideas, and then Steven just said like, coming with these, let's call them real world or like ordinary world solutions. And I was also thinking like the way that Flare, the network, can become more successful is simply by it being used a lot, right? So it is not necessarily so that people need to learn how to use DeFi or even have money to invest. I can also see, because it's blockchain, so the basic idea here is that every transaction is there forever and only truth. So what I see is a great place for companies who need to deal with contracts, for instance. Like, let's say an insurance company. They need to create insurance contracts, and people need to sign that. So they could create a regular app in the App Store that could do that for people between the company and the users. And the users wouldn't even know they're using blockchain, but the data is safe and you can't change it. You can't screw around with it. So I think there might even be opportunities that seem like they're outside of blockchain or outside of DeFi, but DeFi or blockchain is just a tool. It's just a piece of infrastructure, just like a server in your closet, basically, or the router on your desk. And I think there is a great opportunity there if we can find a way to make it super easy for developers of these, or like basic companies that we have all over the world to just make use of that through some package or something like that. And then I think the usage will increase significantly.
I think a great. I mean, I don't know how far we are from being able to implement this, but having a debit card that could tap into your like crypto assets on Flare directly. Like maybe you have USDT 0, you have it on Kinetic, and then if you need to spend it, you just go and you pay with your card. Like that would be an incredible alternative to having your money on banks, and I think that would be a super useful. I just don't know the implementation aspect of it, how hard or easy it is to do so.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I actually internally I need to double check that. The other day I posted about what is the best stable coin, like card for stable coin, right? Like retail card. And there was one that was for Flare. I think I quickly check it out, and it was seems to me that it was kind of restricted to certain places. But I'm gonna check out internally because, if you think about it, in this stage of the ecosystem, we have a bunch of stable coins. We have great utility for DeFi, on and off ramp. That's great. The card would be, something that I'm really interested in exploring further and have it like with a widespread adoption, right? It makes sense.
Are you talking spend a bits?
Exactly.
Yep, yep. Yeah, it's he actually just got a deal with MasterCard, so he's very limited on he's in Canada and I think he's working on some European countries right now. But he's got a really cool deal with MasterCard, so he should see some really nice growth. So that's something to be keeping an eye on. It may get to the nice real world case for around the world, but that's still undetermined.
Sorry, guys, I went silent there because I was approving some new friends that we have. We have Nick on stage, and we have Taki, and I don't know if we have anyone else new. But guys, if you're new to the space, please feel free to introduce yourself, share your thoughts, share your comments, so we can have an entertaining conversation here.
Hey, thanks for having me up here. I'm Nick, creative ORSOX and Oxenflow. Just wanted to kind of give a breakdown. I know Steven gave me a shout out for Oxenflow and just give a better idea of what it is. It basically attempts to abstract out all the complexities that usually come with blockchain when managing a wallet or managing different kinds of assets. Really kind of hide the blockchain portion of the whole thing. Transaction signing is abstracted out. If you need to sequence multiple transactions together to delegate or to swap a token or do anything really of the sort, it's really abstracted out into a sort of a one tap type to transact. And I think this appeals to a couple of different audiences and, really that audience that is a little bit less technical. I think it's very interesting to be able to kind of integrate a debit card or some kind of, spend the bits with Oxenflow. So I just wanted to touch on that quick. And if you come across anything Quantic, I'm very interested in hopping on that.
Yeah, I think we need to explore further, like I mentioned before. So maybe we can connect at some point in the ends and take this conversation forward and see, what are the best possibilities here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. We have also new friends here, Taki and Truth. I don't know what else is your handle, man. Truth Hacker. Oh, I hope we're all good here. Guys, do you want to share something? Introduce some idea, comments, feedback about what we have been discussing so far?
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to speak. And oh, what I came to I understand about the Flare is Flare is a only conscious blockchain currently currently on the space, and it knows what's going around. It understands what goes around, um, what's happening in other blockchains. At the same time, by the introduction of the protocol managed wallet, it will be capable of doing things outside of um, what is capable. So this is my question is for someone can answer me here. In the future, is independent developers or can and launch a smart contract in a Flare that is independent TEs enabled. That means a project can develop something. Independent TEs can operate on a smart contract itself. Is anyone can answer that question for me?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining and asking that. That's a great question. So Flare is an EVM chain, so that's the first thing that you should know. EVM compatible, meaning that whatever you can do in Ethereum, you can do it on Flare. One of the things that makes Flare unique is the enshrined data oracles, right? That means you can, essentially connect everything with data on Flare. And for the oracles, you kind of inherit the security of the chain, which is something quite unique. And as for you mentioned like interoperability, right? So right now, Flare is going from like the blockchain for data to also explore interoperability, specifically providing utility for XRP. And in that path, we are almost there with F-Assets. that will bring EVM DeFi, let's say, to XRP and to other non-smart contract platforms. And in the final, I don't know if this is the final vision, but where we are going in the near future, let's say, is that with protocol managed wallets, you will have a very unique way of experience interoperability, in the sense that you want to have programmable logic in multiple chains. So if you're new, if you're a developer, certainly you can go ahead and explore the developer hub, the documentation there, and start just playing around with the basic examples so that you get a more deep idea of how things work at Flare, which is relatively intuitive, I would say. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to DM me later on, like more technical and whatnot, and we can go into more details. So yeah, that would be like the 2 minutes rant on Flare. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Taki, how are you doing today, man? I saw that you wanted to speak.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm not sure exactly who said it, but I just wanted to say that I am building a onboarding guide for beginners to blockchain and onto Flare. I guess the thing that I wanted to ask to the community here today is, what are some things that got you into crypto and into blockchain? Like, what is the main thing that brought you here today? And if you want to send that feedback towards me, that would be very helpful.
Some questions. Thank you so much for sharing, Taki. Who can go first? Maybe you, Senor Whale?
Yeah, so I started my journey in 2020, right after the pandemic. I was doing like photography professionally, and then with the pandemic, I just completely got stuck. I couldn't work, so that made me want to do something different. And then I started buying XRP and just holding. And then with Songbird, I got burned, like many of us here. But then the knowledge and the learning process that I've had on Songbird, that more than made it up on Flare. So it's just been like such a wonderful journey of learning how to manage money, how money works, and also understanding how to grow my wealth. Because before, like, there was times where I was making much more money than I was making now, and I do not have any of that money. So just understanding how money works, because I think that financial education is the one thing that it's like a very important, and no one teaches us that. So for me, that's that process of learning, that's what I want to share with people, how money works and how to grow it.
That's a great answer, and it kind of ties into part of what got myself into crypto, which was, well, what got me into crypto is different than what got me into DeFi. What got me into DeFi is the ability to apply what I was learning in my finance classes. You learn about perpetuals, how to calculate all these different things, but when they're taught to you, they're very abstract concepts that are hard to grasp from just a purely mathematical perspective. So being able to connect the two together and having someone who was willing to explain things to me and take the time to make sure that I fully understood things, that is really what got me into it. What got me into crypto in the first place was, well, similar story to Whale. It was during the pandemic. I was given my government stimulus checks, and I was just hearing a lot of noise about crypto and so on, and I thought Bitcoin wasn't going to go any higher, so I bought a bunch of other coins that I thought would boom based off their utility, like sushi and so on. So yeah.
Very honest answer, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing. I am kind of on a similar path, to be honest. Like, I initially joined it from, I would say, the scientific side, because I was like working with machine learning and other kind of problems. And then, I stepped into Bitcoin, started learning about the white paper, Satoshi, and the story is kind of very compelling, I would say. And then I learned about Ethereum, and then I started, learning how this idea of programmable money could work. And then I saw the money, right? Meaning that I saw that there was a bunch of people talking about making money with NFTs and whatnot. And then I stayed in this space, and I've been trying to build and educate and learn all the time, and I really, really enjoyed that. So I think, Taki, as you can see, there are multiple angles here. I would say that one thing that probably anyone can relate to is how useless fiat is compared to when you have cryptocurrencies that can, give you yield. I think that that basic idea, anyone can understand it, because right now everybody kind of is more aware about the idea of inflation and how we are losing money having our money in their banks, right? That's essentially it. So maybe if you can take it from there and then go to the principles of this technology, I think that that could be an interesting possibility. I don't know if Nick or Burst FTSO, you guys have something else to share regarding this.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think everyone has that journey into crypto that's a little bit different. Like mine came from the art background. I started in photography and then got into NFTs and worked for an NFT ecosystem, helping different artists mint their collections and launch tokens. And then, that segued into understanding kind of the power of permissionless blockchain and what that looks like. And from there, it went into DeFi with lending pools and staking and all of that, and just like the idea that you're eliminating the middleman in kind of all these aspects, right? Whether it's the finance side, the art side, you're dealing directly with the other side of that transaction, and then outside of the transactional part too, just like the communities that you can find that are small, passionate niche communities to broader people that just believe in the power of blockchain. But the community aspect of it is so powerful, and I think that's what keeps us all in this. Surviving the market volatility and celebrating the wins and mourning the losses at the same time together. But that to me is the big piece of it.
Yeah, not unlike Burst. I saw really what brought me into blockchain is the actual value that it brought with regards to decentralization and the ability to have a censorship resistant, transaction, and then on top of that, the ability to add logic to whatever that transaction may be. My background is actually in iOS development and iOS engineering, so I'm sort of paying homage to that background by creating Oxenflow and using my past expertise to build on top of that and bring forth that knowledge, or just make it accessible to people that really, don't need to know about it, but they should be able to use it. I think a lot of apps and, really most crypto applications and wallets today, it's you really do have to have this base level knowledge, and you need to know what D app you want to use. You need to know how to go to that D app, move the money to the specific portion of the D app. And the idea behind Oxbow is to build these bespoke experiences, but it was all rooted in the fact that, really a lot of users need censorship resistance, even though they don't know they need it, but we're going to bring it to them anyway. So yeah, I mean, that's really where my journey started in crypto. And, it actually didn't start with Oxenflow iOS development. It started as a data provider. And that was my first real coding experience or technical experience with blockchain. Before that, it was mostly, dipping into liquidity pools and figuring out how to manage these different DeFi protocols from a user perspective. And then I kind of just took the dive in and said, I can code this, and started doing it on, started running a data provider. So on Flare. So that's a little bit of my journey. I think it's, probably not too dissimilar from a lot of people. But at its core, it really does start with that whole decentralized ideology, which Flare is really bringing forth with regards to, some of the different protocols that it has. And the FTSO is really, really huge for that when compared to other oracles and data providing protocols on different chains.
Real quick here, Nick, because you touched upon something key, which is the role of FTSO and our Oracle data protocols. I feel like that sometimes is not well understood in terms of like the value, the real value behind. So maybe since you're building on it, you can give us some insights.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really does, you know, and a lot of users and a lot of people who maybe aren't so technical don't necessarily see as much of the value in it as some of the more technical builders that are on chain. But really what it does is it secures applications beyond what traditional Web 2 can actually provide. You get the decentralized aspect if you know, in any sort of decentralized finance or any sort of financial application today, even if it's in Web 2, right? You're sort of reliant on all of the data, you know, the pricing data for your banking application, you know, to make sure that the price, you know, not that the price of dollar is not going to be pegged to $1 for your bank, but say you wanted to send another asset or a security or anything or whatever that is, and the price of the security changes, and you only have one entity that's able to control that price. Basically, you have, you know, that entity can control however many pieces of that asset that you want to send. In reality, it's just a controlled thing. And if that central entity has an issue, then you have an issue. You can't access it. And the data that you're going to be using is just leaves you open. It's open to vulnerability, and you could lose your assets pretty much at worst case scenario, right? Now, you know, enter Flare with the FTSO and oracles and data providers. You really get this fault-tolerant, redundant, decentralized system that any decentralized application that builds on Flare has access to, and it actually has access to it for very cheap. You know, if you're using the FTSO on Flare, you're not really paying for it, which is something else that's huge. That's not, you know, that's different from other chains. For example, Chainlink. Chainlink data tends to be expensive. You need to pay the data providers basically for that system to work. And really, if you want to build something, it's a huge barrier to entry. If you want to build an application, you need secure decentralized data. You need to be able to relay data that's in the real world, that's physical, that's either, you know, maybe it's not just a price from a bunch of different exchanges. You know, maybe it is, you know, we always talk about the weather, right? You know, say I want to build a weather application. You know, it could be anything, but the fact that, you know, Flare is actually bringing the two big pieces together is the cost of the data and the decentralized nature of the data is huge. And it's really what builders need. It's really what you need in this space to be able to build an application that's not going to be susceptible to a bridge exploit or some kind of, you know, I mean, for example, Hyperliquid recently, they had some sort of oracle that was, you know, pulling pricing data, and it wasn't decentralized. I mean, to an extent, yes, it could be argued, but the fact of the matter is they were able to manipulate the price in order to make it work for them. But is that really what you want in the long term? In my opinion, it's not. So the ideal situation is really what Flare is bringing to the space.
Absolutely. And something to add in regards to that, Nick, is that, you know, Flare is really pushing forward for decentralization and has always been that way. And sometimes I feel like on the Ethereum side, it looks like the kind of cyberpunk values and narrative is like owned by them, and I do understand why, and I do support it as well. But I don't see any reason why, you know, on our side, people are not pushing for that when we do have very strong value propositions, such as the enshrined oracles, for example. But yeah, great points, Nick. Thank you so much for.
Absolutely, and I'll add to that. I mean, I think the reason is speed. People are trying to push to market quicker, and they're cutting corners. And it's also this marketing facade that a lot of, you know, blockchains like to put on. And I just, in the long run, I think that doesn't work out.
Yeah, we all know the important role that marketing plays in our space. And I would say, in a way, we do have to overcome that barrier on our community as well, because we do have very strong community and great marketing team and great products. But it's still, you need to kind of always try and think how to kind of like yap harder so that you get heard with all of this other noise that there is around. So great point. Who do we have here on Spaces that just recently joined? We have Rich Kid, and I think we have Master My Budget. Wow, what a great handle, my man. So guys, if any of you want to tap into the conversation, share something, or change the subject before we have to wrap the space, feel free to do so. I think we have.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, all good.
Okay, perfect. So I had a couple questions, but I'll just lead with this one. What are some of the most promising use cases you've seen for PMWs beyond asset control, like cross-chain identity or agent logic?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say at the level we currently are internally, to the best of my knowledge, so it's very restringent. I would say I need to probably dive deeper into what else can we do, because right now we will have the implementation also with TEEs, which brings like privacy. So I don't know to which extent you can actually do new things, but it does seems to me that this will tap into multiple chains. It will tap into AI as well, but certainly something that I look forward to explore. I think that at this moment I've been focusing more on the F-Assets for obvious reasons. But as we make progress toward launching protocol managed wallets, which is on the roadmap for the next few months, we will have some more clear information about, you know what, this is all the things that you can do.
Right. Another one would be, has Flare explored integrating data consent frameworks? Excuse me, frameworks. Example, user-controlled data sharing or monetization.
Yeah, I think that those kind of applications, at least at the highest level, should be possible. I think that a lot of the data sharing stuff, maybe something that you need to think harder is the privacy aspect, right? But I think that we will see some solutions around that like pretty soon. I don't know if the guys that are running infrastructure maybe have some different insights, versus FTSO or Nick, since you guys are like dealing with the with the data itself.
Not
Yeah.
specific insight. I mean, there's a lot of nuance, I'd say, that comes with that type of application, and I'd be curious to know if you can even build it with, with purely in smart contracts. So that's my insight.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say the same on that question. Going back to the use case on the PMWs, though, I mean the gasless sponsorship that we're seeing with USDTO, like that's something that PMWs allow projects to do, is to sponsor gas, so newcomers can send, swap, interact with different apps without ever needing that native token balance. So that's something that we're seeing actively happening right now as one option.
Yeah,
That's
PMWs are
interesting.
very interesting. I mean, it's going to be really, I see a lot of builder or, hackathons and developers are probably going to shape a lot of that space when they first start, getting real utilization out of that. I mean, there's a lot of capability when you add the compute and the ability to, in a decentralized way, create cross-chain transactions. It opens a lot of doors.
Right. Do you think Flare's infrastructure can act as a logic layer for identity, even when the user's assets or metadata live on another chain? For example, like Arweave, IPFX, or XRPF.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that we can already, verify transactions on different
Right.
chains. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's possible per se at its current stage. Actually, I guess it
Right.
would be. You can actually use the FTC to do something like that. You might need to add a data type, which would need to go through a vote, but it definitely has the capability of doing that. Yes.
Sweet. I know it's all in the future stuff. I just wanted to kind of throw out some different ideas for the use of Flare and the network, especially when it comes to the PMWs and the TEEs, where you're getting this kind of AI secured actionable layer, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? You can also send me a DM because you share some very good questions, so we can follow up on that. And it's good material for creating content, for creating like more awareness about that. Right now, I've been so focused on the gasless part and the F assets and all of that that I haven't, been thinking too much about it. But thank you so much for your questions and for sparking this kind of conversation. So I see that we have Rich Kid and Boyak hands up, and we also have Hus. Okay, we have Hussein with us. So I don't know what is the order, but let's do Rich Kid, Boyak, Hussein, and then Senior Well. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, GM. So yeah, I think it's a lot of people will ask me like questions in my game. So I just have one that's since we're focusing on the F asset. So one of the question that someone has asked me is fine. They saw me talk about the FSRP. So the question was more of like how does FlareNetwork tends to like envision and the SRP5 movements and what role does F-Asset play in this vision?
Right. I'm not entirely sure. I fully understood the question, but I think I kind
Okay,
of grasped the idea, and I can share some thoughts. Oh, go ahead, Rich Kid.
okay. The person asked me like, okay, what role okay, how does Flare envision like the role they're going to play for the SR5 movements? And what role would the FA assets play for this role? That was the person was asking me.
Got it. Got it. So how do we explain this to people that have never heard about it? So let me tell you like the two minutes rant, and then you can tell me if everything is clear. So XRP as an asset, you still cannot do much with it, but it's a very valuable asset. People use it for payments. Is adopted by institutions. It's very very big, right? But with Flare, we are trying to enable DeFi with EVM compatible DeFi, right? So that's the core idea behind F assets, that people can then use their XRP to do DeFi. So that's pretty simple explanation you can share with others. And I think that people can really understand the value proposition real quick. Is one of the reasons I've been focusing so much on this. So that would be, the first way to answer that. And then you can go even further, because if you can do this with XRP, you can actually do it with Bitcoin and with other assets that live in non-smart contract platforms. So that's kind of where things are going with the interoperability and the protocol managed wallet. But I guess that for starter, that would be a good way to to phrase it. And since you are here, let me tell you something else, which I think we need to push harder from the side of this kind of basic explainer. You have been doing an amazing job. I think like how you talk about Flare day one or whatever. I see your consistency, and I really appreciate that. I suggest that we reach out to Castra, that is running like Flare Africa, so that we can connect all the pieces together, because you have this skill, this ability to kind of explain things in an easy way. And I really appreciate that. So we need to gather the forces there so that we have a very well educated community in Africa as well. So I hope that helps. And also, I want to talk about Kaito at some point for the Flare community, but that's going to happen in the future. All good now? Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
assume
all
that
good,
it was good.
all good,
All right, bro.
all good.
Next we have Boyach. How are you doing, my man? Yeah, it seems that your connection there is not good. Barely can hear you. I know that you're trying to speak. I suggest you to disconnect and connect again and give it a new try. because it's gonna be impossible that way. Sorry, my man. But anyways, we can also catch up on DMs. I know that you're on my DMs. Okay, next online we have Hussein. How are you doing today?
Hello, Quantic. Can you hear me? Mic check.
Yes, on your case, I can hear you loud and clear, my friend.
Wonderful, wonderful. I've got two questions. One of them is for the trusted execution environments. Do we know who the hardware vendors are, who the service providers are that will be hosting those trusted execution environments?
Great question, man. I've seen that for the Google hackathon, I think we were using like their cloud, and for the hardware part, I think that it was Intel. But certainly, this is one key point that I would need to clarify on my end before sharing any information, because obviously this is hardware dependent, so there is a key dependency there. Well, is there anything that you have heard from the side of the community or other developers?
I mean, no, I would imagine some of the usual suspects would be involved, like Google, Amazon, maybe Fireblocks. I don't know. You know, the usual ones that would have this kind of hardware. Obviously, we use multi-party computation. That brings me to my second question, actually, with Fireblocks. I'm very familiar with Fireblocks infrastructure. I've used it in a couple of different roles. So I imagine it's going to be the usual suspects, but it'd be good to know exactly who the list of vendors and service providers are, hardware and kind of infrastructure. Eventually, I'm sure the full list will come out. Obviously, the more we have, the better, right? And the more decentralized it is, the better.
Absolutely. That's a great point. The more we have, the better. So better we try to be proactive at this. And I would ask like for your help, actually, not only on pinging me on the M's to follow up on this, because it's a key question. And also, I don't know if you have any ideas on like, what would you recommend? Because if you have been looking into it, maybe there are some recommendations that we can send back to the team.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely. I can definitely make a few recommendations. I'm still coming up to speed with learning about the protocol management wallets and the trusted execution environments, which brings me to my second question, right? So the use of multi-sig for the F-Asset vault is perfectly reasonable, in my opinion, right? You have known entities that are contributing collateral to the F-Asset vault. Multi-sig is fine for that. I don't think that compromises Flare's ethos on decentralization and security. When it comes to the trusted execution environments, I believe it's multi-party computation that's required to sign the transaction on the foreign chain. But we've had a couple of discussions on X about this, and I'm wondering if it's a combination of multi-party computation and multi-sig, or precisely how the key that signs the transaction on the foreign chain is assembled. And so we take inputs from, or emissions from FlareNetworks that would then trigger the signing of a transaction on a foreign chain. So I'm assuming it's multi-party computation, but again, if we could get some clarity on that, that would be brilliant from my side, because I'm really excited about this.
That's another great point. Yeah, multi-party computations, that's for sure, is there. About the multi-sig though, I'm thinking about it because, now that we see F-Assets rolling on Songbird, I would say, yeah, you can argue how decentralized that is or not, but the thing is, how fast is that, right, in terms of a solution? So I would need to check out like the internal documentation that we currently have, and if that final solution has been, fully detailed, and then I would be able to revert back. But MPC for sure.
Great. Yeah, it's lightning fast. I've minted FXRP. I was staggered by how quick that was, by the way. And like I say, for version 1.1, and even if the core vault remains a concept under multi-sig, if you're simply providing collateral to the system, I don't think that's a huge deal that multi-sig is being used in that case. But yeah, it would be great to see how these things evolve. Thank you very much for letting me up and ask some questions. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very good questions, guys. I love how the community is coming together from different angles, and it gives me the feedback that I can then relay to the team. So, Senior Whale, what is it that you want to discuss now?
Yes. So I want to ask you guys, what are you most excited about FXRP on Flare? Like, what's the first thing you're going to do?
I'm
Say again?
Yeah, you know what? I'm like super excited about just the fact that a vision that has been taking years to be built to become a reality. Like in very simple terms, that's personally what I'm more excited about. Now it comes down to like the execution, right? We know that there is a huge demand for XRP and XRP-Fi. We want to have staking, restaking, and all the cool things that you can think of. And I think we will have it personally, and this is personal, please don't use this as official information. I expect this to be rolling out everything by the end of the year, in which we have like a clear understanding functional version that everybody can see, like, wow, this is how XRP-Fi is going to feel like. So I'm personally very excited about that, and the more I think about it, the more I see the value, the utility, and how simple it is to explain that to regular folks. The more energy I have. But now that we have this space and we have so many questions about like protocol managed wallets and TEs, I'm gonna be taking a look into that. I just barely surfaced the scratch with that and with the AI Flare kit. And that's another direction that is going to, I would say, is gonna be big, right? Because we're talking about having privacy and verifiable compute. Those are big industries and those are growing, and I'm pretty sure that we are very well positioned to get a market share eventually. So yeah, Hossein.
But based on Senor's question there, he just reminded me of something. What I would really like to see, I don't know how economically viable this would be, but potentially taking issued assets on the XRPL and turning them, enabling DeFi for issued assets. So rather than just the native asset XRP, because we have a burgeoning ecosystem on the XRPL with issued assets. There are like over, I think, 20,000 now AMM pools on the XRPL for issued assets. And it would be amazing if we could do something with those liquidity pool tokens on Flare networks, potentially collateralizing them in some way.
So it's not confirmed, but Hugo did mention at some point that with Flare 2.0, you're going to be able to bring more than just XRP into Flare. So I haven't heard any more information, but I think that after Flare 2.0 with the protocol managed wallets, like that is going to be a possibility. So yeah, I'm super excited about that as well.
That is super exciting. I really hope that happens.
So what's the first thing you guys are going to do when FXRP lands on Flare?
I was thinking about just taking some FXRP and putting it onto BlazeSwap with Songbird as a starter for 10. When it comes to other issued assets, yeah, I've got a lot of ideas, but under NDA at the moment, so I can't talk about those too much.
Yeah, so you see, one of the things that I really want to encourage is that we need to maintain the focus, right? Mostly because, as you guys can see from this conversation, there are like so many directions and so many things to explore. And I think right now, personally for me, and what I'm encouraging the people that I have around is to focus on going to mainnet with the XRP, and that the execution is clean and the value proposition is really crystal clear for everyone. Because that unlocks we're fixing a huge market inefficiency, right? And this is going to be massive for XRP holders. So I just cannot stop thinking about that. But thank you so much, guys, for bringing like these other different angles. Now my mind is going like at 100 miles an hour, and that's fun, right? That's why I'm in this space. I like to learn from others. I like to explore new things. And speaking about exploring new things, I think I saw one of my dear devs around, Mart or Smart on Stuff. Are you with us, man? Do you want to speak?
Hi there, Quantic. Hi, everyone. Actually, yes, I always want to speak, but this is my first time on a Flare community call. Amazing stuff, really clever people. Probably I don't want to jump right into the middle of AI agent and all this topic. That's going on everywhere. And first I need to do well a decent research within the Flare ecosystem. What's up there? You know, what do you already have on AI agents, infrastructure, platforms? I don't know, maybe agent marketplaces, etc. And solutions, of course. Before actually talking about it, so I'm not sure if it fits in the context of this call. But if you have anything to share, I'm more than interested to hear. Maybe if you have any solution in your mind that is already existing and that I could look into, that would be extremely interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing. And I actually want to hear from the people that are here before, like Burst, FTSO, Hussein, Nick, Senior Whale. What guys you have seen so far? Because I've seen a couple of things with agents, but since I'm new, I still don't know all of the applications. So very easy for me to miss some interesting things that you might have seen.
Yeah, I mean the stuff that I've seen out there, automated trading bots where they're predicting, like short-term price moves or auto executing trades on different dexes, like that's been probably the most common use I've seen. But I've also heard people talking about, using AI agents for like risk management, liquidation protection on the lending protocol side of things with different lending pools and all the market volatility that we see. I'm trying to think what else. Like it just seems like a lot of it revolves around that, like portfolio co-pilot type use case right now. But I mean, with that technology growing, there's I'm sure an infinite number of use cases. So maybe somebody else has seen some other things.
I would just jump in and say the use case for biomedicine is huge, right? Because anonymized, verified data would be amazing for diagnosis, for example, and maybe analysis like gene pool analysis, that kind of stuff. So I actually, a long time ago, I was working I founded a company called the Biomedical Algorithmic Exchange, but we couldn't continue because the decentralized infrastructure wasn't available, I don't know, 8 years ago when I started working on that, where we could take anonymized data sets and draw analysis, and because like medical data is private, right? And then the problem then becomes keeping it private and then verifying the veracity of that data, which is now a solved problem. It took years for Flare to solve it, but I think the building blocks are there that enable that to happen. And then when you throw AI into the mix, the whole thing actually comes alive. So I would imagine someone somewhere will soon realize this and begin using Flare networks and AI agents and the data for medical diagnostic purposes.
All right, I did not expect that, but very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Thank you so much for asking. And the people are speakers today. Amazing job, guys, with the support and sharing your ideas. I think this was a wonderful space. Actually, my plan was to do it only for 1 hour. We have been here for about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And, I think it's time to wrap it out because we are going to have like other sessions as well with some other participants in the network. But today was a great success. Super grateful and super excited about how we're seeing these solutions that in the past were not possible starting to emerge, and how we can all start like contributing and try to gather all the different pieces of the puzzle, right? I think that's an amazing thing, one very unique thing that you can do in Web3. And Flare is the ecosystem and is providing the infrastructure that can help you get there, right? So let's just keep building, put the good word out there, and keep supporting one another. Certainly, I'm going to be hosting more of these spaces because the energy was amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Quantic. Thanks for everyone.
Thanks, Quantic.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very
Have
much.
a good one. Bye.
Well, guys, there we have it. I thought that was quite good. It was, yeah, longer than expected, 1 hour and 20 minutes, but I'm happy that you guys tuned in with me. Of course, if you do want to recap on anything, you can just rewind it because it was obviously recorded. Yeah, he did say as well, Quantic, that he was planning to do some more in the future. And I would say that if you do want to give him a follow, he's definitely worth following because he's putting out some great content at the minute and really starting to help expand the community. So you can find him here at 0x Quantic. Right, that pretty much wraps it up. Do have yourself a great day. Thank you all in the chat for watching. It's been great chilling with you guys, and I shall catch you all in the next one.
We have liftoff.